All right, all right. Joseph Limo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good to be on with you, Lawrence King.
Good morning. This is Lawrence King with Building Top Agents. I am here with my guest, special guest, my mentor and my original brokerage, still a mentor to me today. I'm here with Joseph Limo, aka the Professor. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Hey, it's an honor to be on with you, Lawrence. Your career has been an explosive one. Honored to be a part of it, and man, I consider you an equal and a mentor to me as well, brother. So thank you for having me on.
No problem, man. Anytime. How you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great, man. It's beautiful out here in Southern California. We've had a cold winter. It's starting to heat up, so all is well, man. Ready for a killer summer in the real estate market.
Okay, perfect. And on this show, with Building Top Agents, what we do is we have different guests on from all facets of real estate, whether it be residential, commercial, but it's all pouring in investors. Everything is pouring into this show where people can get knowledge on real estate in general. So
Awesome.
I really want to dive in and let the people know pretty much Joseph Limo. Who is Joseph Limo?
Man, I'm a pretty sincere kid that grew up just trying to do right by others, and figured out that I'm pretty ambitious during college. So got into the real estate game, had some conflict, right? Because internally, I'm just what I hope to be is just a really good person to others. And in the business world, that can be an interesting thing. And I figured out, you know what, you can triple down and be exactly who you are and have success in whatever you do. So brought that level of sincerity to real estate. And man, now I'm really happy to just coach others. Education is a big part of my life. I was actually going to school to be a teacher before I got in the industry. So hence, things come full circle. Now a professor at Mount SAC for the real estate department there as well.
My man. My man. I'm happy for you, man. I've seen the bits of where you started to where you're at now. So congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Tell your flowers now. Here they are right here. I appreciate you, man. So getting into this industry, I know when I first started, when I first got into it, I had some misconceptions and some beliefs that, real estate was going to be easy. My first year, I was going to go out there and kill it. What are some of the misconceptions or myths that you heard about, the industry that you frequently encounter with like new agents coming into this business?
Sure. So, I think all new agents really want to, because of their licensing requirements, right? They really want to focus on being a practitioner, and that's great. I think it's important to practice real estate on a high level, be that professional for your clients, understand what you're doing. That is a standard, but that's the floor. The reality is this is something that I resisted for a long time. Marketers win. Okay, marketers win. So you need to understand how to market your business, how to get clients, because look, if you're not doing it and you're a stellar practitioner, someone else will. And they may not have that level of interest on being the professional and being clear on what to do and guiding their clients correctly. So if that's who you are deep down, especially as a new agent, make sure you get really close to someone who can help you on the marketing side, because I don't care if you're the greatest agent in life. If you don't have a client, man, it's really all for naught.
So marketing wins. That's
Marketing wins.
Okay, got it. And then for that question, next is basically when you first got into this business, right? What are some of the largest hurdles that you experienced when you your first year in real estate? What are some of the hurdles that you've dealt with or had to deal with just getting started in the business when you started?
I think it was twofold, man. Number one, the pain of rejection. The challenge is being someone who really, and probably too much, cares about what other people think and trying to do right by others. That rejection hurt a lot. Okay. So that was the first thing for me, is to get over the fact that not everyone wants to do business with me, and I don't want to do business with others. A really good friend of mine and another stellar real estate professional named Maisha Majors said it best, man. She's like, look, I found peace that it's really God's will. If I'm meant to do business with these people, I will. And if I'm not meant to, then there's someone else that's better for them, and just let go of it. So year one was a tough one because I got really emotionally vested in everybody. And, I didn't
I can see that.
understand how that worked. Yeah. The second piece of it, Lawrence, for me, and this kind of dragged into year 2 and 3 for me as well. When I started in the business, I think this is true of a lot of agents, they're playing real estate. You got to triple down. You got to be committed. At some point, you have to make a commitment. You have to claim it that you are a real estate professional. So instead of playing around with real estate, trying it, we'll see how it goes, you got to in your soul buy in. Because until you do that, you're probably not going to be willing to go through what it takes to build a real estate business. So you can do deals every now and then. That's great. No problem. And if that's someone's goal, by all means, do that. Right. But for the people who are trying to grow a sustainable, thriving real estate business, you got to claim it internally first. So that was a big issue for me the first couple of years, is not just seeing myself as that professional and being dedicated to it. So you got to claim it, then you can go and build it.
Got it, man. That's good advice. Very good advice. I mean, I think, and if I look back at it, when I first started, year 2, 3, and 4, it was like playing real estate or playing realtor, right?
Bingo.
I wasn't fully vested, I would say. And now that you're saying it, it's making more sense for me now. Like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, because I had to jump off that cliff into real estate fully, right? In order to understand it fully, I had to get off the playground playing around real estate and actually get into it. So, and making it a consistent business. So you're right on that. And I appreciate you giving me that info.
And Lawrence, I'm going to add this, because I don't want people to think that it's about letting go of our responsibilities. I don't want people to think that I'm encouraging them to go and get a really expensive vehicle that they can't afford, and if they can't sell a lot of real estate, that they're going to have a problem. That's not the idea here. The idea here is just simply that you commit yourself to being that real estate professional so you can sustainably grow in the long haul. It doesn't mean, sacrificing your family, your finances, or doing anything irresponsible. So I just want to make sure that that is abundantly clear.
All right. Sorry about that, Joseph. I cut out a little bit there, and I apologize.
No, you're good. No, I just finished answering the question, my man. We're good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I apologize. We had a little technical glitch there on our end. So yeah, and let me go back to this. When I first started, Joseph, I was terrified of making cold calls. Like, I think that was the biggest thing. I was like, I don't want to make any cold calls at all. Right. I had to really get comfortable with having no answers, like receiving those no answers. How have you, like, when you first started, did you start with door knocking or cold calling?
I was a door knocker, and I continue to be, quite honestly, but door knocking was my jam. Door knocking more than cold calling, simply because, and I think when you kind of look at the two, you kind of have to decide, would you rather be more effective or more efficient? For me, I'm a little bit more of a people person. I love being in front of people. And through some of my previous ventures, I knew that more than half of communication is visual, right? It's body language. So not only is it the words that you're using, the tonality, rate of speech, the whole 9 yards, but a lot of it is your facial expressions, how your body is moving. And you lose a lot of that over the phone. You still want to express those things, but people can't see you doing it. So for me, I wanted to be more effective. And that meant going out and knocking doors instead of cold calling. Cold calling is far more efficient. I applaud people who do it. I'm not saying one's better than the other. It's what's better for you is really the answer, in my opinion.
So your advice to any real estate agent, whether experienced or inexperienced, is to door knock over cold call.
No, I think it's to figure out what is better for them.
Okay.
For me, it was door knocking because I knew that my communication style is far more proficient when I'm in front of somebody. I've met other people who are just stellar over the phone. And for them to be more efficient and stay effective enough to get results, stay doing that. Door knocking takes time, right? Calls, like if you have a dialer, especially, you're banging out a couple of calls at the same time, like a 3-line dialer. I'm knocking and walking from one door to the next. It's very time consuming. It's way less efficient. But for me, it's what worked for my communication style and for me to get results.
Face
So
to
no, I
face.
think for an agent, figure out which one is best for you, but just dedicate yourself to doing it. And I don't care if you're horrible at it in the beginning. Just go do it.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to learn.
And then as far as like, so let's say, do you consider yourself more of a buyer's agent or a listing agent?
Yes. I've never
Good answer.
subscribed. Yeah, I've never subscribed to the idea that new agents can't list properties. And there was a time in my career that helped me to realize that I'm never going to be in a place where I don't want to work with buyer clients that are my repeat and referral business. May not be able to work with all of them all the time. And that's where building a team and having other great agents around us that we can refer that business to is important. But I like both, Lawrence. And so I consider myself a real estate professional for my clients. And sometimes that means helping them buy properties. And I still enjoy that part of the business.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this situation where when you do have listings or you're representing a buyer, what are some of your like, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your valuable like negotiation tactics or tips that you found successful since you've been in real estate? Like,
yeah, that's a great question, man. And here's what I try to coach agents with all the time, because I think the idea of negotiation is one that is really far-fetched at this point. People think a good negotiator is someone who shows up in their suit and they have a scowl on their face and they're mean and aggressive.
right.
That doesn't have to be the case. I mean, for me, my opinion is this: a great sales process is one that feels like a flat line, not one that has a spike in emotional charges or anxiety, nothing of the sort. A great salesperson, their sales process emotionally feels flat for themselves, for their consumer. So I try to help agents understand how to create a sales process that begins at hello. And
Right.
what that also means is when it comes to negotiating, you want to do two really key things. Number one, you have to know what your client's bottom line is, and you have to help them understand what their bottom line is. Okay, so if I know that this is the line for my client, that means I get to try and negotiate way over here.
Right.
And if I settle back here, guess what? They still win and they're still really happy because they got more than they wanted. Okay.
Absolutely.
The other part, though, is that, as real estate practitioners, we don't decide for our clients. Like, it's never my role to make a decision for them. I'm here to consult with them, giving every level of information and professional opinion. But at the end of the day, it's their decision to make. And so what I want to do, though, is I want to help them have some of those decisions thought through before it gets emotional. And that's great negotiation tactic again, because I don't want them to succumb to the emotional anxiety, stress, or even excitement that might cause them to make a decision that is not part of their strategy. That's poor negotiation. Okay. So a lot of the importance of negotiation happens on your side of the fence. Then when it comes to working with the client or the agent on the other side of it, I think what's really key is trying to get them to buy into your side. And there's a lot of tactics and strategy around doing that. But, I'll keep it simple. I think you attract more bees with honey. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But you have to know your contracts. You have to know what is already stapled in or what's already a part of the agreement. Because I see a lot of times people try to negotiate around things that are already settled and they just don't realize it. So they're losing ground without knowing it. Now, for me, I'm going to take advantage of that because I know my contracts extremely well. I'm certified for the California Association of Realtors to train other agents how to use them. That's a tactic that, and really an opportunity that my clients leverage for themselves. So when you understand your contract, when you understand what you're working with, you're going to negotiate far better than the others, because that's the tools that we use.
100%. And I mean, and Joseph, I mean, I'm telling you this, I think you're very, very good at negotiations.
Well, thank you, sir.
I think a lot of people should reach out to you for those tactics, understanding their clients, both on the listing side and the buying side.
It's tough, man. And I'll tell you this, it's tough because to properly negotiate and help people figure out exactly where they want to be and how to make those decisions, you can't be a yes person all the time. And that can be very uncomfortable, especially for someone like me. I want to please everybody. But at the end of the day, I figured out if I really want to do right by my clients, I'm okay not being the easiest person or just being nice and pleasant all the time, if I'm going to do the right job for them and help them actually accomplish their goal. So I'm okay being, a little tough with questions and really pressing them and making them feel uncomfortable so they can land where they want to land. But yeah, absolutely, man. I'm always open to helping other agents in our industry kind of figure out how to better support their clients and negotiate on behalf of their clientele. So always reach out to us. I mean, I think if we can raise up the industry, we're doing a service to everybody.
And with that being said, you've dealt with both buyers and sellers. In a situation on the seller side, as there, because for listing agents or people that call themselves just listing agents, it's hard for them to turn down a deal, right?
Sure.
Even if they know for a fact that the property is overpriced, that where the seller wants to sell this property for, they'll still go ahead and sell this property. Now, in certain situations, you have sellers that are not ethical. Have you ever dealt with someone where you had to turn down a listing because they weren't ethical?
I have. I have. I don't think on the unethical side of things it was more than one time. More often than not, it has more to do with their what they expect to get out of a property that I know is not going to happen, and I'm not willing to be unethical, tell them what they want to hear just to take a listing, because I don't believe in saying, yeah, I'll sell it for $1 million, knowing that all I'm going to do is start driving down their listing price and beating them up over the next, 2 or 3 months. I just don't subscribe to that. I would rather, if someone else wants to have that as a strategy and tactic, knock yourselves out. That's just not my way to do things. When it came to having to say no to a really great listing, it was early on in my career. I was still out towards Orange County. That was my focus. And unfortunately, I was dealing with a seller who had some pretty strong biases in terms of who they wanted to acquire their home. And unfortunately, those biases ran into some protected classes. And we had a couple of conversations around it. And when I recognized the fact that they were not joking, like a couple, and just, full transparency, it came out as a couple of like jokes almost, right? Initially. Right. So they weren't really hard and fast, like, we are not selling to this type of person. Instead, it was more making jokes that were extremely uncomfortable. But, early on, I was like, okay, well, I'm just not going to really engage with that comment.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did you engage? Like, was that awkward?
Super awkward, man. And it was engagement.
What did you say?
I'll tell you. One of the tactics that I have when it comes to objection handlers is one, just to let that objection go. Like, if I'm showing a property and a client makes a comment about something that they don't love, leave it alone. You don't have to address everything, right? So the first joke was, kind of a left field kind of joke that could have been taken the wrong way, but maybe not. I just chose not to engage with it at all. I didn't laugh. I just kind of acted like I was super confused by it, because quite frankly, I was. But when it came up, 2 and 3 more times. It was blatantly clear this person had a pretty solid bias, and I was pretty confident that they would make decisions from that bias. So at that point, it was just not something I was willing to engage with.
How did you let them know?
I just shared with them in the listing agreement where it's very clear that you cannot make decisions based off of these protected reasons. And jokingly, but still in a stern way, they said, well, we're going to make our decisions how we make our decisions. And they may be about, but we're not going to go there. And I said, quite frankly, my license requires me to make sure that if any decisions are going to be made that way, that I cannot be a party to it. And that was it.
How did they respond?
They thought I was joking, and they thought I was being a little overboard. Like, come on, like, you don't have to be, take it easy. And I was like, no, I need to know right now that you're not going to make decisions that way. And quite honestly, they told me that they would, just don't listen to what we're saying. We're kidding. I knew it wasn't real though, Lawrence. So I just kind of ended the listing presentation without signing a listing agreement, and then let them kind of find someone else. Because I think at that point, we all had come to the realization that we weren't going to work together.
Did that property sell?
I honestly never looked it up again, to be very frank.
Checked it out? Okay.
Never checked it out.
And so with this current market, I mean, what trends have you seen in the current real estate market right now as recently that has impacted your approach, like towards buyers and sellers?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's back to the basics. And then I've also recognized the fact that for a lot of us in the real estate business who have been here for 5, even 8 years, that have been doing really well in our real estate careers, if we've only been in that period of time, we may not have seen a cycle like this before. So even for people that have experience and that have done well in their real estate career for the last 5 and 8 years, you maybe don't know what this transition feels and looks like.
Right.
So I know for myself, it was really coming back to the fundamentals. And that is, I like to look at things like in a sales funnel process. Top of funnel is our lead generation activities. We got to get back to making sure that we're not only shoring up the things that we know work, time tested and proven. Door knocking, for example, is one of them for me. Tell agents all the time, your sphere of influence has to be number one.
Yep.
For a million reasons we won't get into right now. Reach out if you want to dive into that. But then also open houses. I think they're just an incredible way to have so many cultural norms built into a situation that people take it for granted. I can't walk into a bar right now and shake hands with someone and ask them, so have you talked to a lender about your pre-qualification process yet?
A little bit awkward on that.
Yeah, right. Like you just can't go up and do that within like 2 or 3 sentences. Right. Whereas an open house has all of these cultural norms built into it. There's so many things that are assumed that are to our advantage. So going back to the fundamentals, but really leveraging technology, really leveraging cutting edge ways to do what we know works far better and far more efficiently. Okay. So for me, that's one of the most important things that I think agents can do right now.
Getting back to the basics.
Exactly. Yeah. And realizing what it really means to have consistency in your lead generation activities. Because, man, I think for a lot of years, it got really easy. And for people who have been around, I think they relied a lot on their sphere of influence because it was giving them opportunities in an abundant way, which is great. Right. And that's what you want to do with your sphere of influence. But when markets change and the sheer volume is no longer there, you got to go back to what got you there to begin with. And that's meeting new people, having more real estate conversations. And that means getting out of your comfort zone again and doing what it takes to build a business from scratch.
So I know right now there's a ton of agents. I mean, we had an event yesterday where it was for agents for AI driven technologies and all that stuff. I was talking to you about before.
Yep.
I know there's a ton of agents that was there that are struggling in this market, right? They don't know where to pivot, right? what is some of the advice, especially for new agents just now getting into this business, just now starting out, and they're coming into this thing where the real estate market is kind of making that turn now, right?
Yeah.
They haven't seen this before. They haven't seen the great. Well, they've seen the great part of it because they watch TV, they watch listings, all that stuff. But for new agents or agents that experience it that are like, I don't have any deals.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them right now, today? What advice would you give those agents that are struggling to get listings, to get buyers, to purchase? What advice would you give them right now?
I think it's really simple. You need to pick 3 proactive lead generation strategies and 3 reactive lead generation strategies. Some are better than others, okay? But I don't want you to worry about that right now. Pick 3 of them that you can actively go out and do consistently, and pick 3 of them that are more on autopilot. Commit to them. Shut off all of the noise, because there's so many shiny objects in our business. You know how easy it is to spend your way out of real estate? Super easy. Yeah. When you commit to 3 proactive and 3 reactive activities, then I want you to shut off the noise of everything else that's possible. Focus on those, do them consistently, put them in your calendar, and treat it like a listing appointment. Okay. Would you show up to would you not show up to a listing appointment because you're like, maybe tomorrow I'll go? That wouldn't happen.
Right.
Would you show up to a listing appointment without any kind of due diligence, leading to that point of going, yeah, maybe I should check some comparables before I show up?
Right.
Well, if you treated your lead generation activities like a listing appointment, when it's 10 a.m. and that's the appointment time, 10 a.m. means it's go time. Just like when you show up to a listing appointment, you're probably there at 9:55, but you're ready. You know what you're doing. You already know what the conversation is going to look like. You've already looked up the comparables. You need to treat your lead generation with that same level of honor. When you show up, it's not there to figure out what to do. It's not time to figure out who to call, what the message is going to be. It's time to perform. So pick 3 strategies of proactive, 3 of reactive, commit to them, shut off the noise, and go forward. That's one of the things that I think is really difficult for agents, especially in a shift, is you try something for a month, you don't get results. Then you shift and try something else for a month. And man, before you know it, it's 7-8 months of trying things that if you would have just stuck to plan number 1, you'd be crushing by now.
Correct. Remember, I mean, and a lot of agents are getting the shiny object syndrome, right?
Totally.
They see new things and they're jumping off to this one, to that one, to this one. Just stay focused is what you're letting everyone know, right?
Sure. I mean, you're one of your strategies that we're talking about might be the shiniest penny in the world. Good, commit to it. That's all I'm asking. Commit to it and don't quit. So if it's YouTube, great. Become a content creator. Like, just go full bore as one of your activities. Okay. I would also recommend, this isn't absolutely required, but my recommendation is try to think of some strategies that are both going to focus on business that can be had right now. Knocking doors, open houses, cold calling, right? Really having a great communication plan with your sphere of influence. Look for opportunities today. But also integrate some of these activities that are going to lead to future business. Okay. YouTube is a really great example. If you can have a 24/7 second salesperson for you, why wouldn't you want that in your business? And that's your video content. Okay. But sometimes people start YouTube. Hey, I'm guilty of it, right? We start doing some videos, some content. We're like, but I got to look for business now. And they stop.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. Yep.
Sure. Just don't stop. So, first thing is first, to keep it super easy, pick 3 of each, proactive, reactive, do them. Don't quit, be consistent, and honor those times like a listing appointment. The second level of that is look for business now versus business later and integrate both. But if you just look for business now, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Got a lot of notes here, man. So, Joseph, obviously this is top of the hour. I appreciate this time. The insight into Joseph Limo, the professor. Where can people find Joseph Limo at? Where do I find you online on social media?
Yeah, everywhere. So any social platform and YouTube, just look up Joseph R. Limo. You will find pretty easily my accounts, and please engage, follow. I'd love to catch up with anyone who's looking for a couple of nuggets, some support. There are so many little things in what people are doing as real estate agents that if there was just a tiny little shift, they would have far better results. Especially, for example, agents who are doing open houses. There's usually just a couple of small changes in their approach that actually lead to a real estate conversation. I know so many agents don't know what to do in an open house. And, granted, you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get business, even if you're horrible at it. That's the good news. But if you know how to engage someone where you can actually get into a real estate conversation, man, the abundance of opportunity there just goes skyrocketing for you. So yeah, absolutely easy to find me on all social platforms and YouTube. Just look up Joseph R. Limo. Last name is spelled Limo, like limousine, but I'm pretty easy to find.
My man, I appreciate this time. As always, Joseph, this is the man that helped me out in the real estate industry and helped me understand a lot of it. I have other mentors, but this gentleman here has helped me tremendously in my business. Thank you, as always, Joseph. I appreciate this time with you today, man. You have a great rest of your week. We'll be back next week with another guest, but Joseph Limo, you're the man. I appreciate you, man.
Just trying to be like you, Lawrence. Appreciate you, bud.
Talk soon, man.